You're listening to Straight from the Hat with Ben Vaughn.
Every day starts with a broken heart. I must be too sensitive for this world. Well, I know it ain't right to cry every night. I must be too sensitive for this world.
He's had a career filled with twists and turns as a performer, songwriter, composer for film and TV, and record producer. For Ben Vaughn, the best part of the journey has been the colorful characters he's encountered along the way. His friend Laura Pocadello, who works for Sun Records in Nashville, wrote the names of those characters down and placed them in a hat. Each episode, she'll select names at random and let Ben relive the stories. No pre-planning, no filter. Just telling it like it was. Straight from the hat.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Laura.
Okay, back to the hat here. As we both know, we have no idea what comes out next. But I'm always curious. It's a little bit like a tarot card situation. It's like, what does the hat want us to talk about today? You know, it decides for us.
That's heavy.
It's heavy. I'm projecting a lot onto this hat right now. It's very spiritual.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who comes out. Well, here we go. Los Straitjackets.
My guys, Los Straitjackets. Yes, Los Straitjackets. Most people who are listening are probably familiar with these guys, a four-piece instrumental band. I hesitate to use the word surf instrumental because they go beyond that. But they never
surf
get
inspired, maybe.
Yeah, but they never get fancy though. You know, they're in the Link Ray and surf category as far as influences. But really, the best rock and roll guitar-based instrumental band currently working. For the last 30 years, they've been the best. You know, they're amazing.
Yes.
And I produced 3 albums by them. I recorded them before they had a record deal, and then I played the recordings for everyone I could think of. And the timing could not have been more perfect because Pulp Fiction had just come out. And all of a sudden, this recording we had a lot of value in the marketplace. And they took off. And they're now backing up Nick Lowe, doing shows with Nick Lowe, and they have been, for probably 10 years now, maybe? It's been that long?
Something
maybe?
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. And how I got involved with them originally is that Danny Amos, the founder of the band, he was in the Ray Beats, an instrumental band back in the late 70s, early 80s that featured members of like Lydia Lunch's band and James Chance, that whole New York underground, Lower Manhattan thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and Danny was in that band, and I met Danny. I played in Hoboken, New Jersey, and he ran sound for one of my first gigs I ever did under my own name. And he introduced himself, and we became friends immediately. And Danny, a few years after I met him, moved to Nashville to get a job at the Opry doing sound. And then he moved over to doing sound for, stage manager for the Nashville Now show with Ralph Emery.
On TNN, which was filmed in that same building as it's the Opry House now, but there's like a TV studio in the back.
Yeah, this was Opry Land, where this was done, which is not to be confused with the actual Opry. Opry Land, you could probably explain it better than I could.
I can, actually. Allow me to explain. Essentially, it's all in the same building now. It's the Grand Ole Opry House, which is the big building with the venue in it, where the Opry is hosted. It's all about semantics at the Opry. And then in the back of that building is the TV studio. There used to be the Opryland theme park outside, which predates my time in Nashville, but people never stopped talking about it. And now there's just like an outlet mall or something like that there. It's not much of anything, but that building is still really cool. It's the same building where the Opry is hosted.
Yeah, Opryland on the outside of town. a complex, a weird complex, and Danny was working there every day, and I would go down to Nashville a lot, and I met so many country stars because of Danny, because he was so generous. You know, like, hey, Ben, this is Merle Haggard. Merle, my friend Ben, you know. So I'm trying to think.
Wild.
I met, like, Stonewall Jackson. I met Hank Snow.
Oh, wow.
Tom T. Hall. The list goes on. I can't even remember all who I met. Johnny Cash.
I will say your head kind of spins when you're in that building because people just walk by normally, because everyone's just at work there, whether they're like, you know, playing the Opry or doing TNN or whatever, filming something. It's like, oh, yep, there goes Johnny Cash, there's Tom T, and it's just people wandering the halls, so you might not remember.
Yeah, and Danny, I would go to the Opry, you know, Saturday night Opry show when I was in town, and Danny would get me in, and I was allowed to sit on the stage, you know, which is what they offer guests. And one time Danny asked me if I wanted to go fetch Roy Acuff and bring him out to the stage. And I was like, what? That's really funny, Danny. He goes, no, seriously, you want to go back and bring him out? So I went in. Roy had his own dressing room, and he was sitting in there. He lived on Opryland premises. They had a house there.
Yes, that's actually now the WSM studios are in the Acuff house.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, the studios aren't on Lower Broadway anymore, or wherever they used to be?
No, yeah, it's actually, there's a courtyard sort of area outside the Opry house, which is where there's just like a normal looking house where Roy Acuff lived.
Yeah.
And now that's where the studio is.
Oh, that's wild. That's wild. I didn't know that. Yeah, and so here's this guy. I mean, the word senile is probably correct, you know. He wasn't quite sure where he was a lot of the time, and he lived on the premises, and he was very old. I don't know how old he was. And when I went back,
this was late 90s, right? 1990s.
Would have been the 80s. Okay. I think it would have been the 80s. So I go into Roy's dressing room and I say, "Hey, Roy, it's showtime." And he goes, on stage. So I grab him by the arm, and I'm leading him out, and I'm thinking, this is not going to go well. You know, this is not going to go well. Wow. So I let him onto the stage, and the band's going, ding, ding, doodle, doodle, ding, ding, doodle, doodle, ding. You know, they're playing, you know, an instrumental version of Wabash Cannonball or something. I don't know what it was. And I'm leading him on stage. And within a minute, he was balancing the bow from his fiddle on his nose. I mean, he put on a show.
He had done that, what, a billion times by that point? Like, it's muscle memory, but that's still kind of spooky.
Well, he dropped 50 years, put on a great mini set, like maybe 4 songs, you know, and some banter, the whole thing. Balanced the bow on his nose. The crowd goes wild, and then I had to go lead him back into the dressing room, and he went back into the state he was in before it was showtime. It was amazing.
The fugue state that he was in before he made it on stage.
Yeah, and Danny Amos was Danny. If someone should interview Danny about his years there, because he worked with everybody, and he has a great story about having to put a clip mic on Dolly Parton's bosom. A great story about that.
That's a workplace hazard. I'd love to talk to him about that, because I too used to work at the Opry, and it's a fascinating time when you spend a couple years there and are around all those people, and more importantly around just kind of like whatever is going on at the Opry, which obviously a big part of that was Roy Acuff and whatever happened to him on stage. That's crazy.
Yeah, and they had Skeeter Davis. I mean, they had all these people. The loyalty of, and I think we've spoken about this before, but the loyalty of country fans, especially the people who would plan their summer vacation around going to Opryland, to see people like.
Or once in a lifetime vacation. That was a big deal for me when I worked there, was that a lot of the people, especially, they'd celebrate the Opry birthday in October, and they'd be like, I've been wanting my whole life to come to an Opry birthday show. And for me, it was like, okay, this is work. It's another show. And then it was like, whoa, these people are obsessed with country music, and they came to like the center of it all. And this is the biggest deal for them. And then a lot of them would sometimes fall asleep in the pews.
Well, there was a moment, Danny told me that someone actually died in the stands at TNN.
I shouldn't laugh.
During a show. They waited maybe a little too long for that once-in-a-lifetime vacation. But
listen.
Yeah. But Los Straitjackets, getting back to them, besides Danny, the band has 2 lead guitar players, and one of them, Eddie Angel, is still performing. And that guy is a savant when it comes to guitar because Link Ray is like running through his body. I mean, when he plays guitar, there's a lot of people who imitate older styles and make a really good living doing it. And it's really great, too, because if you love surf music or if you love rockabilly, it's great to be able to go out and see live practitioners, even if they're young and they weren't alive when the music first happened, and maybe they're dressed a little too slick, and maybe they do
their best, yeah.
Maybe they're too precious about the vintage gear, but to be in a room with that beat and that music is really, really important. And these styles, hearing them in a live situation is completely different than hearing them on record. The room really fills up with energy and a lot of great spirit. And Los Straitjackets are the best at it. And their original drummer, Jimmy, Lester James, great story about him. So he used to be the drummer for Webb Wilder, who you're probably familiar with.
Yep.
A Nashville artist, a really interesting guy. Webb Wilder was the nephew of the woman who started Trumpet Records, who recorded Elmore James in Mississippi.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Like in Jackson, Mississippi, or Hattiesburg, somewhere like that. And he had this aunt that the family never talked about, like, oh, well, she, whatever, she's crazy. And she came over to visit once, and it turns out that she owned Trumpet Records and recorded Elmore James. So Webb Wilder, he came to Philly to play once, and Mike Vogelman, the bass player from my Philly band, went to the show, a guy who knows a whole lot about music, and he goes, man, I just saw my favorite drummer. This is the best drummer ever. And then 5 years later, Los Straitjackets come to town wearing masks, and my friend goes, I just found my second favorite drummer. And I go, it's the same guy, actually. And he's like, what?
In disguise.
Yeah. I said, it's the same guy. And he goes, wow, I passed the blindfold test. Yeah, Jimmy Lester, one of the greatest drummers you'll ever get a chance to see. He's in Nashville, still playing live. You can see him play. He doesn't tour with the band anymore. But, awesome band. And the great thing about Los Straitjackets is they never age. It's like the Archies, they still look great,
All right, another good one up next from the hat. We have Johnny Otis.
Johnny Otis. Yes, Johnny Otis. Let's hear for Johnny Otis. What a guy. He's one of those people that inspired me to be in the music business with many different roles, because he was a band leader, he was a songwriter, he had a radio show, he was a reverend for a while, he wrote books, he raised chickens in his backyard in Watts,
wow,
and sold them for money. He had a record label, more than one, I think. He was a talent scout who was sent around the country. He discovered a lot of people, Johnny Ace, Etta James, Little Esther, all these people. I was also a huge fan of Shuggy, his kid, an amazing guitar player who made some really cool records that were not blues like Johnny. They were, he could play the blues like crazy, and it was amazing, but he made those really cool records, Inspiration, Information, and all that. And in 1989, I was signed to Bug Music, a publishing company with a great backstory. Dan Burgoyes managed Del Shannon. These are Michigan guys here.
Okay.
Battle Creek, I think, is where they were from. Pretty sure.
Nice.
And
them and Kellogg's. That's the claim to fame for Battle Creek.
Yeah, Del Shannon.
Cereal.
Del Shannon and Kellogg's.
Yep.
And Dan started managing Del in the early 60s, I think, after the hits. And Del had never gotten paid. And Dan, as his manager, said, look, I'm going to get this money for you. I forget who the guy was, Ollie McLaughlin or somebody like that, who wasn't paying him. And after years and years of going through the courts and doing all this stuff, Dan Burgoyes got a couple $1 million for Del.
Wow.
And they said to Del, okay, now we got your publishing back. What do you want to do with it? And he goes, well, you're so good at what you do. Why don't you start a publishing company and I'll be your first client? And that's how Bug Music was started. And they eventually had like Iggy Pop and, John Hyatt and, all these really great, and catalogs. They absorbed a lot of catalogs. And one of them was Johnny Otis. Bug started a label, Bug Records, that was distributed. It was a subsidiary of Capitol. They did a Willie Dixon record, a Hillbilly Fever record that Marshall Crenshaw compiled.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an amazing record of hillbilly stuff from the Capitol catalog. And it's amazing how much country music was recorded in Hollywood at Capitol Studios. It's amazing. A lot of stuff that you would think was cut in Nashville was actually Ken Nelson producing in Hollywood. And so Bug, because they had Johnny's catalog as a writer, they hired me to do Johnny Otis the Capitol years, because Johnny was on Capitol for maybe 3 years. Willie and the Hand Jive came out during that time. And so I went into the vaults. I was on tour at the time, and my band drove back to New Jersey without me, and which they were not happy about. And I got to stay in Hollywood in a hotel, and I got put up in this hotel right down the street from Capitol Records. And the engineer at Capitol Records ordered all of the master tapes to be brought out of storage and brought into a mastering room so we could listen to everything. So I spent a couple days listening to everything Johnny Otis did on Capitol. And
straight from the vault, too, is crazy.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is, Willie and the Hand Jive is the big one, right? So I'm like,
Sure.
Okay, put it up. I couldn't believe it. Put that reel up.
Yeah.
And I put it up, and I'm like, that doesn't sound as great as I remember. And I guess maybe we can compress it later. I think it needs to really be super compressed or something. I don't know what's,
Yeah.
So we're going through all the tapes, and we're finding all these stuff. And then finally we find this 10-inch reel of Willie and the Hand Jive dubbed down to a 10-inch reel, or 7-inch reel, I'm sorry. And it says, use this. And then it had numbers written down for the massive amount of compression used. Use this as master. And this is like a piece of masking tape with writing on it from 1950 whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we put it up, and I'm like, there it is, that compression. So it was great for me because it validated what I wasn't hearing, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, it answered the mystery of what's the secret sauce that wasn't there.
Yeah, and it sounded amazing. Like it just sounded incredible on that totally saturated compressed tape. And because I was curating this, they hooked me up with Johnny. And Johnny was doing this residency at a place called the Vine Street Grill, where he had the Johnny Otis Review every night for Thursday through Sunday.
Whoa.
And so I got to hang out with Johnny and the band and Shuggy and Johnny's wife and everything, and it was really, really awesome. We stayed in touch right up until he died, actually. And he would send me demos of stuff, because we got along really well. And I really loved hanging out with him. He was, it's a pretty amazing story, because he was a Greek American, but lived completely in the black community and married a black woman, and was a really important person in the history of R&B. And he had a black manager. He was like a white guy with a black manager. That's probably a first, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just an amazing guy. He wrote a really great book called Listen to the Lions, about the 1965 Watts riots. And he was a painter.
Whoa.
He would paint. He was great. And hanging out, going through old photographs with him. And we got him to come in and listen to all the masters and everything. And we're looking at the track sheets and everything. And the Bug Music had hired a photographer to come in and photograph us together, because they were going to promote it. And the photographer turned out to be Henry Diltz,
Whoa.
Yeah, so all of a sudden Henry Diltz comes in. He's got a ponytail looking like like a hippie.
Yeah, looking like Henry Diltz.
Yeah, he was Henry Diltz. And so I'm like, wow, and then so he takes pictures of us and he leaves. And then we're talking with the engineer. It was a woman, and her name was Leslie Ann Jones, I think. So we're talking to her, and I was like, wow, like I was always interested, because back then, I mean, this is in the 80s, a woman engineer was not that common. And so I asked her, I said, wow, this is great. Like, so how did you get in here? And she goes, well, I was the touring sound person for Fanny. And I'm like, hold it. You were the sound person for Fanny? She goes, through the entire thing. And I'm like, wow. So, so I'm with Johnny Otis, and I forgot that Johnny Otis is sitting next to me. He's like, who's Fanny? And I said, excuse me, I'm talking. We're talking about Fanny. And then we get into a conversation where Johnny was talking about, Johnny was an R&B guy, and then he gets a rock and roll hit with Willie and the Hand Jive, and now he's a rock and roll guy overnight. And how he was talking about how his jazz buddies, were razzing him about it, and the R&B guys were razzing him about it because now he's a rock and roll guy. And Leslie Ann says, yeah, my dad didn't know what to do about rock and roll when that came in either, and it was confusing for the veterans. And I said, wow, who was your dad? And she said, Spike Jones.
Oh, okay. That's wild.
Yeah. So there I am, Henry Diltz and Spike Jones' daughter and Fanny, sound person, and John, we're all together. And again, it's one of those things where, why wouldn't that happen? Music is the most fluid of art forms, right? It's like not like painting and not like a play or even a movie. Music shows up everywhere in your life. Like you could be putting air in your tire at a gas station and hear Gary Lewis and the Playboys, right?
Yeah. Or
in a pizzeria, and all of a sudden you're hearing, Hall & Oates or whatever. It's everywhere all the time. It's a fluid art form, and it's and it kind of seeps down into the creators of the music, kind of flowing in and out of each of these environments and bumping into each other.
It's not a super big world either, so it gets smaller and smaller the more time you spend in it too. So it makes sense. It's very cool.
Yeah. It's it always amazes me when it happens, and then doesn't amaze me that it happens, because why wouldn't it? But I'm kind of, I go back and forth between being amazed and like, yeah, of course, I'm going to be sitting here with Spike Jones' daughter and Johnny Otis and Henry Diltz. Of course that's going to happen.
Ooh, this is a fun one. This is Back to Philly with Charlie Gracie.
Charlie Gracie. A little backstory on Charlie Gracie. He was the first rock and roll star to come out of Philadelphia on Cameo Records. He had a song called Butterfly and another one called Fabulous. And they were big hits, and he was a young, good-looking guy playing a guitar and singing, and this is before Frankie Avalon and Bobby Rydell and Chubby Checker and all those people. He was the first one, but what he did is he demanded accounting because he didn't think he was getting his royalties, and he got blacklisted by Dick Clark and everyone else in the business. It was over for him because he did that. An incredible story. So I first encountered Charlie Gracie when he was reduced to being a lounge singer. He would play 4 nights a week in some lounge for a living. And I got a job as a dishwasher at a place called Capriati's in my town. We had 2 Italian restaurants, and I somehow managed to be a dishwasher at both. And along the way, met
a lot. Is that a conflict of interest?
Yeah, well, they were competing, and both of them were. I don't know how much I should say about the mob. I'm not going to name names. I'll put it that way. I mean, this is a long time ago, but I'm from New Jersey, and I'm still scared. Okay.
Some things just stay off the record forever. Yeah.
Yeah, there were these guys. That I met, and so Charlie played the downstairs bar at a place called Capriati's, and I was upstairs washing dishes, and every chance I got, I would go down there and watch him. And this is a guy playing 4 sets a night, maybe 5 sets a night, all covers, and he would do his hits and everything. And I remember when he was booked, it was really great because I'm washing dishes in this place, and all of a sudden there were these 8x10 pictures of Charlie Gracie all over the place. Coming next week, which he had come in and put up, the week before. And I was sort of aware of him, growing up in the area, all the Cameo records, Dee Dee Sharp and all that stuff. We heard them all the time. So I knew the records well enough. But I would go down and watch him, and I was probably 15 years old at the time, and I was in a band that was trying to sound like Grand Funk Railroad, okay? As far from Charlie Gracie as you could get, But I didn't feel right playing that kind of music, I had such a love for 50s rock and roll and doo-wop and everything, and guitar instrumentals like Duane Eddy, and I didn't have any friends who were into that, any musician friends who were into that. So I was always in bands, and we were, I wanted to be in a band for my social life, and to play music, but it was never the kind of music that I really felt, And then I saw Charlie Gracie every night, because I washed dishes every night after school, and I would sneak down there, and one of my jobs was to go down there and bus all the glasses and bring them up and wash them. So I was down there a lot. And he would do these medleys, like the coasters. It was incredible, the songbook. He was like a human jukebox. But the way that he entertained the crowd with hand gestures and jokes and leg kicks, and his guitar playing was phenomenal. He would do this version of Guitar Boogie Shuffle that would tear the roof off the place. And I met him, and he was really encouraging, and he was really friendly, and it was like the first rock star I got to know was maybe the best one I could have met, because he was really generous and really funny and nice to me and encouraging. But he always used to tell me, because you know what you got to do? This is what you got to do. You got to dress, put a band together and dress like hobos. You're going to have the corncob pipe, and you're going to have a straw hat, and you're going to be called Benny and the Bums. I'm telling you, this is $1 million idea I'm giving you. Benny and the Bums. You do that, forget all that stuff, that hard rock you're doing, and just, play some good old rock and roll and call yourselves Benny and the Bums. I'm telling you, straight to the top. And I did not obey him. I went on my own way, my own path. And I guess it was back in the early 90s. He was still playing in all the lounges around town, and I went to see him. He got booked at a place right around the corner from where I live, so I started going to see him again every night. And he remembered me, which was really crazy, because he's, when you play lounges 4 nights a week for 30 years, how are you going to remember everybody you meet, right?
Right.
But he remembered me, because he saw me, and he goes, Benny and the Bums! I'm telling you, because I had a record deal, because, his son told him, Ben's got a record deal. He's actually kind of like, legit now, and he goes, yeah, but he would be bigger if he followed my advice. Benny and the Bums, I'm telling you, missed opportunity. And
there's still time, Ben. You could bust out Benny and the Bums at any time. He might be right.
Yeah. But he was, he lived to be, I think, 82, and we played. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame had this thing in Philly, with a retreat where they had me be the band, and they brought a bunch of Philly legends out to perform, and we backed up Charlie, and it was incredible. There's video of that out there, and Charlie's like 82 years old, doing the leg kicks. He looked like Paul Sorvino or something. He had this. He really could have been in a movie as an actor, in like a Scorsese movie. He had this really classic Italian-American thing going on that only somebody from South Philly and only someone who spent that much time in lounges could pull off. I think he was wearing a leisure suit right until the end. It was great. It was great. His records, there's a cool record. If anyone's curious out there, there's a record of a performance. He was really big in England. Like everyone, Paul McCartney, everybody went to see Charlie Gracie, and everybody loved him. And Van Morrison's a huge Charlie Gracie fan. Graham Nash, all these people, they talk about him. That's like crazy, because he went over there, and he was, I think, the first American rock star to go there, maybe. I think he might have been. Or maybe Bill Haley and Charlie. And Bill Haley is from the Philly area too. That all happened locally too. And that's the first stuff that the British kids got a chance to see live. And he played at the London Palladium, I guess 1957 or something like that, and somebody recorded it. And it's a really great live album if you can find it. Yeah, or maybe it's the Hammersmith Odeon, one of those kind of places.
And it's officially released. It's not a bootleg. Probably
a bootleg.
I mean, either way, I'm just glad it exists, but I got to go find it.
Yeah, and there's a version of Guitar Boogie on there that's ferocious. The guitar's distorted. It's like, and all of a sudden, bling, and you realize, oh, he's only playing on 5 strings now. And I think he breaks another one before it's over. One of the times I was hanging out with Charlie, I told him how much I loved that record. And he goes, "Oh man, I can't believe they put that out, man. I'm breaking strings like crazy. I'm flubbing notes. It's embarrassing." I'm like, "It's one of the most exciting things I've ever heard. Are you crazy?" He goes, I'm better than that. I'm better than that.
Into the almighty hat we go. Let's see who we're going to talk about next. Oh, Marshall Crenshaw.
Marshall saved me. I was working as a landscaper, writing songs that nobody was hearing because I wasn't sure if they were any good. And he heard "I'm Sorry But So Is Brenda Lee" and decided he was going to record it on his 3rd album. And it changed everything for me. It put me on the map, really. I was able to quit my job as a landscaper. Little did I know that the music business was just another version of shoveling mulch. But
yes.
so it's he really he heard that song, and the title is so attention grabbing, I guess, But I wrote that song. I was a landscaper, and I worked with this guy named Dutch, who was this big dude who had no sense of humor, as far as we knew, and he looked like he was ready to become violent all the time. And,
okay.
So I was a landscaper, and I ended up being the foreman on the crew because the foreman just stopped showing up for some reason. I don't know what happened. And my boss hired a lot of parolees, a lot of people on probation, and my job was to call their probation officers during the lunch break and vouch for them that they did show up.
That's an important job.
Yeah, and luckily, and this has nothing to do with Marshall Crenshaw, but I'm not allergic to poison ivy. And
that's huge for a landscaper.
It's a really big deal, and to intimidate the big parolees I was working with, I would rub it all over myself and go, "Ah, watch this." And they're like, "Oh my God, no." Because don't do it. They're like, "Don't." So I told them I was able to create with my mind the ability to not break out from poison ivy. And they were scared of me. That was my superpower. And anyway, it was a great job. I really loved it because I could write songs all day long in my head because you're pulling weed beds, or you're driving a tractor mower, or you're tree trimming, or whatever it is you're doing.
Your hands are in the dirt and your mind is somewhere else.
Yeah, you can get the job done and look at it at the end of the day and see it's not intellectual. You can actually see progress and completion of the job and feel good about what you do for a living, and you can also daydream during the entire thing. So that's how I became a songwriter. And I used to go to coffee houses. There was a coffee house in Camden, New Jersey called The Perimeter. It was in the basement of this building right by the bridge that goes over into Philly. And I would go there on Friday nights, and I would appear as the singing landscaper. And I would sing these. I wrote these songs about landscaping. And I would sing them to the guys on the crew, and they thought they were pretty funny. There was one called "It's Raining, So Let's Go to the Bar." That was a very popular one.
I mean, I think that speaks to the landscaper culture for sure.
Yeah, I had one about fertilizer that was also popular. But when I played that one at the coffee house, they didn't translate. I was shocked.
Was the poison ivy thing part of your stage show?
No, maybe that's where I went wrong. I should have came out and rubbed poison ivy all over myself and said, hello.
Then they would have really thought it was a great show.
Yeah.
Totally normal.
Yeah, where were you? I needed that guidance. This is proof that artists need management. It's just true. I was clueless. I didn't realize. But anyway, I wrote all these songs as a landscaper, and I also, during the winter months, I would work the night shift as a paste-up artist at a printing company. So Marshall cuts this song, which changes my life. I'm now going to be a professional in the music business. And he really did me a big favor, and he still performs I'm Sorry But So Is Brenda Lee every night and mentions my name every time he does it. So,
oh, wow.
A great guy, really talented guy. And the one thing about Marshall most people don't know is he's a great drummer, a really good drummer. Yeah. I don't know if that was his first instrument, but boy, he's an all-around a great talent. I mean, he can stack harmonies and obviously write great songs and play guitar and bass and drums. He's a fantastic musician and musical person. Music just oozes from him. But it's funny because when that record came out, 1985, I'm thinking, my mom still, to the end of her life, thought that I had a cut by Marshall Tucker Band.
Bless her heart.
yeah, exactly. And it was so cute, I couldn't correct her. Sort of like a child. When a child's pronouncing a word wrong, you're like, you're going to let them do it for a few more years before you correct them.
You're like, that's how we're going to say it, I think. Although now that you say that, I kind of would want to hear the Marshall Tucker Band version of that song.
Especially with flute.
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget the flute.
Never.
Yeah, Marshall Crenshaw, great guy, and I met a lot of people through him too. And he's still touring and everything, so if you get a chance to see him, go out. He's great.
He's coming through Nashville soon. For me, I mean, he's had such an interesting career, but he wrote for the soundtrack of one of my favorite movies, Walk Hard. He wrote the title song for that, and that's kind of was my entry point for him. Have you ever seen that?
I have. A great movie.
It's so funny. It's so good. I think about it. I mean, working in the music industry, I think about many things from that movie quite a bit, especially the people it parodies. So it's a great one, but it's a great song to go along with it too. He's clearly got a sense of humor. And what's really interesting career.
Yeah, what's really funny about Marshall is that I saw Beatlemania. He was in Beatlemania, the Broadway, and they opened in Philadelphia to work out the Kinks, and I went. And so I didn't realize that the John Lennon that I was watching on stage would eventually be a guy who would get a record deal under his real name and cut my song. and I mentioned that to Marshall, and he goes, "Oh man, Philadelphia, happiest time of my life. I was on stage every night as John Lennon. I had a great hotel room, and I just loved Philadelphia." That was wow.
Did you know Marshall at all before he cut your song, or was that how you got to know him?
I met Marshall, the first gig I ever did under my name in New York City was at Folk City in 1983. And that night I met Marshall Crenshaw and Andy Chernoff of The Dictators. That's when I realized, wow, I'm onto something here.
Something's happening. Yeah.
And so he would come see me play before he decided to cut that song, and then just told me, "Hey, I'm going to cut this. I really love this song." It was a big surprise to me and a great surprise, and I thank him for my career, because really I'm not sure if I would have had a career if it wasn't for him, because that was a big thing. Everybody loves Marshall Crenshaw, so I immediately was kind of preordained or anointed, whatever you want to call it, because
into the fold.
Yeah, Marshall approved of me, so I was okay, and I was worth checking out. And
do you know if he is allergic to poison ivy?
I don't know. We have not had a conversation about landscaping. I think I might be the only person in the world who is not allergic to poison ivy.
Ever? You're going to make that claim?
I don't have any research to back that up, but I'm certain it's true.
There you go. It's song time again. Let's end on a song. Normally, we'll let the song hat make the choices here, but I think because we talked about Marshall Crenshaw and this song, we should hear I'm Sorry, but so is Brenda Lee, and the story behind it, why you wrote it.
Well, that's a song, I'm Sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. When I was a landscaper, the guy, Dutch, who I was talking about earlier, the guy I worked with, he had no sense of humor. And one day I accidentally dropped a rake on his foot. Oof. And he was a pretty mean guy who looked like he was about to get violent at almost any moment. And I went, whoa, man, I'm sorry. And he said, yeah, so was Brenda Lee. And I filed that in my back pocket, and I was like, that is a great song title. I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. And I carried it with me for probably about 3 years. I didn't have any inspiration to write the song until I got divorced. And right at the end of all the worst part of getting divorced, there's this kind of calm that came over me and a relief and kind of a, the song is sort of a half-hearted apology. Mm-hmm. It's not really an apology. And I just thought those words would really work. So, Dutch, if you're out there, I have some money in an account that I set up back in 1985.
You get a cut.
Come get it. Anyway, here it is. I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. The way I do it. Now, Marshall, when he does it, it's rocked up and cooking, you know. But I wrote it as a country ballad almost. And it goes like this. When you're young, you do what you think you're supposed to. There ain't no big hand up in the sky reaching down to guide you. I thought I loved you. I made a promise that I couldn't keep. Yeah, I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. It was gonna be blue skies from now on. We used to laugh and say how we'd prove everybody wrong. But nowadays you won't even admit that you knew me. Yeah, I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. It's funny how the world turns round. It's funny how the seasons go. It's funny how the time rolls by. It's funny how apart we've grown. I guess you went your way, I guess I went mine. And I guess you got your reasons for being unkind. But it's okay, 'cause I don't miss the way things used to be. Yeah, I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. Yeah, I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee. Yeah, I'm sorry, but so is Brenda Lee.
You have just enjoyed another installment of Straight from the Hat with Ben Vaughn. To learn more about the names drawn from the hat for this episode, please visit straightfromthehat.com. Don't forget to tell a friend about this podcast. And please, subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice.